Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of Prince Harry, Groomed to be the Spare, part of our ongoing review series of Harry's memoir, Spare. We begin this part of the review by diving into one of the most heartbreaking chapters in Harry's life, the tragic loss of his mother, Princess Diana, and its lasting impact. The next significant thing which happened in Prince Harry's life was the fact that his mother had died in a car crash. His father, King Charles, was the one who broke the news to him. Darling boy, he said, Mommy's been in a car crash. He didn't hug him, he didn't comfort him, he just pat him on his knee and went about his business. As we read the book, we see that Prince Harry was left alone to stew in his heartbreak until he had to get up like an automaton for the next thing on the schedule of the royal family for the day. Oh my God. What? You know what this picture you're looking at is? The next day, after the news of his mother's death had been broken to Prince Harry, their father took them to church. And on their way back, their father asked them to come out and greet the mourners. Yeah, you heard right. At 13 years old, the day after he had been told that his mother had died, he was made to come out to comfort the mourners. I mean, who does that? Really, who does that? Is it just a lack of empathy, or is it just a complete lack of knowing what he needed to do to take care of his sons that brought about such a very bad decision for King Charles? I would have thought no father would want to expose his children this kind of experience so soon after their mother had died. But no. I believe that this was merely for the optics. You can clearly see from the pictures taken in the media at that time, one of which is on the screen at the moment, that both Prince William and Prince Harry struggled very seriously with their grief, and they had to do that in public. Oh, is it any wonder what happened next? In his book, Prince Harry writes about how he responded in the days and years following the death of his mother, Princess. Harry didn't believe Diana was dead, he told Anderson Cooper. He had not been given any comfort whatsoever that he needed to reach the softly arrived at conclusion that his mother had gone and gone forever. Members of the public could not possibly understand how larger than life his mother was, and the kind of impression that she had in Prince Harry's head, and the importance of her in his heart and his life, because she was the one who shielded him from the more cutting aspects of the life he was to live as the spare in the royal family. Her presence actually allowed him to accept the treatment meted out to him by the royal family. It's quite surprising that his father didn't see the need to fill the void left by the death of the children's mother. All he seemed to be concerned about was himself and his mistress. But we'll get to that further on in the video. At this point, the shield between himself and the media, and himself and the more difficult aspects of his role as spare to the heir, had been taken away. So now he was able to see what he wouldn't probably have seen if his mother had been around. He would observe it, obviously, but he wouldn't see it that keenly. And I know exactly what this means, because when my own mother died, I experienced the same thing. Even though our relationship was not perfect, when she passed away, everything she shielded me from came to me directly. So I could see and feel everything a lot more keenly than I did when she was around. Prince Harry says that people were up in arms because the flag hadn't been lowered to half-mast over Buckingham. They didn't care that the royal standard never flew at half-mast, no matter what. That it flew when Granny was in residence, and it didn't fly when she was away. Full stop. There's so much to dissect in that paragraph. But the most important thing is that at this point, Prince Harry had directed his annoyance to the media. If you remember the details of his mother's death, his mother had had a car crash because she was being chased by the media. And so the media had earned their right to his full anger. What were the media saying which brought about all of this? They said the media reported in several newspapers, and it was splashed all over the news as well. Royal fans accuse Queen Elizabeth of having a real lack of empathy. Well, Prince Harry's opinion of the newspaper reporting focusing on whether the flag was at half-mast or flying fully was that they were only trying to deflect attention from their role in his mother's disappearance. It became a case of Prince Harry versus the media. And what did the media have to say about being on the receiving end of Prince Harry's anger? They have written article after article, and on this one, with the slide currently on the screen, they have made an attempt to make a case for themselves. And in it, they say, perhaps because he's experienced its worst side for virtually his entire life. Broadly speaking, Prince Harry is right about the British press. It's a raucous institution, a feral beast, you might say, intrusive, rude, abrasive, on a deadline for a story and insatiable. The media has peddled stories about him and his wife that are sometimes wide of the mark, shall we say. Rather than saying wide of the mark, can we just call it lying? The Sussexes have launched successful legal actions against some big titles to make their point. Some of the coverage, more often commentary, they've endured since Meghan Markle entered the royal orbit like a meteorite in 2016, has been snobby and has had racist overtones. You don't say. I cut off the rest of it because this was the positive side of the article. The rest of it was them trying to justify their actions. And everyone knows that the media were totally responsible for Harry's mother's death. So a discussion about that or a debate about that is just not welcome. Over the years, there has been a lot of debate about this very scene captured in this picture which is on the screen at the moment. This is Harry, his father, his uncle, his brother and his grandfather walking behind his mother's coffin to the funeral. Harry explains how it came to be that him and William were walking behind his mother's coffin. Harry tells us that his uncle objected fiercely to the idea that he would walk behind his mother's coffin, but the powers that be insisted that he had to walk beside his brothers and his father behind the coffin. When the issue was being discussed, Harry felt like he didn't want to let his brother walk behind the coffin on his own, and he completely felt like if the roles had been reversed, his brother would want to do that with him. Well, okay, no comment. We still got a long way to go, and I will make my comments further along as we progress in the review of this book. Prince Harry describes meeting the mistress. Now that his mother was dead, his father felt that there was no need for him to hide his relationship with his then mistress. Prince Harry's mother had said that there were 3 people in her marriage, but her math was off, Prince Harry said. She left William and me out of the equation. And so when they had the opportunity to meet Camilla, they said to their father, "We support you. We endorse Camilla," we said. "Just please don't marry her. Just be together, Pa." He didn't answer, but she answered straight away. Stories began to appear everywhere in all the papers about her private conversation with Willie. Stories that contained pinpoint accurate details, none of which had come from Willie. When you go through the book closely, you begin to understand the reason why Harry brought her up at all, and why it would appear that she's the only one who bore the brunt of his grievances. To him, she was his spare. He was going to treat her in exactly the same way that she had treated him, over the years. In conclusion, this section of the book describes Harry's life as a teenager, how he experienced his mother's death, and how the intrusion of the press began to affect him negatively, as the buffer between himself and the press was removed by the death of his mother. He really should have had his father to fall back on, but the cold nature of the royal family did not allow for the relationship between his father and himself to deepen, so that the vacuum created by his mother's death could be filled. I mean, can you imagine that Prince Charles actually joked about Prince Harry not being his son? King Charles should have known better, given his own nature being a sensitive type who actually had to have a teddy bear which he carried all over the place as a security blanket. I must say that in the end, love wins. This is one of the slogans of Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan. The love in this case was the love of his mother, which had been poured into him by Princess Diana before her death. In the end, Prince Harry was just a very confused teenager with no one to help him make sense of his world, who was being pulled in many different directions by the love of his mother, by the cold duty of the royal family. It didn't appear that he even had his brother to talk to about the many changes happening in his head. The funny thing is that the royal family had every chance to continue grooming Harry, but the emotional neglect gave room for the words already planted in him by his mother to take root and blossom. If only they had looked and taken him under their wing, expressed some care, some love, some warmth, Harry would have been fine. To avoid making this side of the video super long, we will stop our review of the spare here. I hope you enjoyed listening to my thoughts on this part of the book. What did you think of the spare, and what parts of the spare stood out the most to you? Let me know in the comment section, where I will also be to discuss further and exchange any ideas that any of you may have. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell. This is Wizzy signing out. See you in the next one. Ciao!